If somebody isn't replying to you after one, maybe two follow-ups, you need to move on. We don't want to keep giving our time and energy to someone or something that isn't responsive to us. That's not a good use of time. And then we just look super, super eager, right? And there's nothing really wrong with that. I want you to be interested and engaged, but don't keep following up with people that don't reply to you.
You just saw a short clip from our interview with Lorraine Rise, the CEO of Career Uprising, where she answers the question, what to do when your job search isn't working. Real quick, do me a favor, subscribe and like the video to help our channel grow, then ring the bell to be notified when we post videos in the future. As you watch this part of the interview, post in the comments your frustrations with the current job market. And to see the complete interview, click up here so you can hear more advice from Lorraine, who gives us practical advice to activate your job search with productive action steps you can take right now.
Which then kind of, as we're kind of seeing things, how can you effectively follow up with employers, recruiters? What's that follow-up process look like?
Yeah, I think so. So if you've had an interview, you always want to end the interview getting an expectation of the timeline and what the follow-up is. So make sure, just basic things, have the contact information for the people that you interviewed with, set an expectation for follow-up. So what are the next steps? When can I expect to hear back from you? Okay, if I don't hear back from you by that time, I'd like to follow up with an email or something like that. Set some expectations, get a timeline, make sure you're also connecting with these people on LinkedIn that you're interviewing with if you haven't already. And just kind of make sure you're putting it on your spreadsheet and following through when you say that you are going to follow up. But the biggest thing that you have to remember too, and this is what's really, really hard for people, is when they do that, they get ghosted for whatever reason, especially after they've interviewed. But even if it's just a recruiter you've been chatting with, if somebody isn't replying to you after one, maybe two follow-ups, you need to move on. We don't want to keep giving our time and energy to someone or something that isn't responsive to us. That's not a good use of time. And then we just look super, super eager, right? And there's nothing really wrong with that. I want you to be interested and engaged, but don't keep following up with people that don't reply to you. It's only going to make you more frustrated. Move on. And if they come back and say, hey, sorry, I've been gone, we are still interested in you, great. If you're still interested, then work with them. But in the meantime, don't get frustrated. Don't live in that space. Don't hold up your job search because you're waiting for this recruiter to get back to you and you're checking your inbox every day for it. I used to be that person, which is why I say that. But I think people get really disillusioned and get frustrated, especially with recruiters, because they don't always hear back and they're waiting and hanging on that. And it's a habit we need to break. We need to give our time and attention to things that are working and things that people that are responding to us. And if we hit a dead end, go ahead and move on. And if it reopens, great. But if not, in the meantime, pursue another lead.
Hey, so, yeah, like you said, move on with people that are willing to move on, and professionalism. Do you really want to work with somebody who's not going to follow up or be available to follow up with you for that? And I think the other part is just move on. And what's a reasonable follow-up time? Is it like 3 days every day after the interview, or is it like 3 weeks, once a week, and continue to follow up? What's
so.
Again,
I think it depends on what the time frame is, right? So after you interview, you want to ask them, how long should I, or when would I expect to get an answer? Respect that timeline, whatever that is. From there, when that timeline passes and we don't get a response, yes, absolutely, go ahead and do a follow-up. And then I would probably, if you still don't get a response, I'd probably wait a week maybe, and maybe do one more at the most. And then we gotta let it go at that point. And that's the hardest thing to do, right?
Let it go.
But if it's a dead end, it's a dead end. We're not, right. We can't make people reply to us, but we can choose who and where we put our time and energy to.
So this may be a good point to kind of discuss the process of hiring. What does a hiring manager inside a company, what is that? What's going on behind the scenes that may force somebody not to follow up or may do something? What's going on behind the scenes that
there's a lot of there's a lot of things that could be, quite honestly, sometimes it's just the recruiter gets busy and they literally cannot follow up with everyone. They might have a lot of work. They have multiple requisitions open at one time. And sometimes something's got to give. And when I was a recruiter, I tried my best to reply to everyone, but I know there are some people I just couldn't get back to that email. It wasn't that urgent. And I had all these other things that I had to get to. Sometimes that's what it is. And you know, and it is what it is, but we can't always reply to every email. Sometimes it's not worth re-engaging because we can't move forward with them for some reason. Sometimes, you know, employers and don't want us to give negative feedback to candidates. So maybe somebody isn't progressing, something in the interview didn't go well, they're not a fit. Some companies have different policies about giving that feedback. Sometimes employers want you to just kind of let it die. Some employers give that feedback, right? Employers sometimes are hesitant for legal reasons to tell people why they didn't get a job, right? You know,
Right.
It depends on what it is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that discrimination is happening. It just means that it opens up a can of worms and re-engages with somebody that isn't going to move forward. So that's different companies will handle that differently. And I'm not advocating one strategy or another. I'm just saying different companies have different cultures and different ways of handling candidates in the pipeline and ones that don't move forward. So sometimes it's because you didn't get selected. Sometimes it's because they're really busy and they just haven't gotten to you. They just have other priorities. Maybe the requisition totally got canceled and they didn't hire anybody. It could just be an oversight. There's so many things going on. That's why we can't spin our wheels and worry about it. We can't.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to kind of make that point. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we just don't see internally, legal reasons, other reasons, whatever. You just don't worry about it. You put your best foot forward. You did everything you were supposed to do in the way you knew how to do it. And 2 weeks at most, you know, if that, just move on. But never ever stop your job search either. If you went through an interview and you thought it was good, and you feel that you're getting, even if you are getting followed up with, and they are kind of, you know, telling you, hey, we think you're a good fit, continue to look for other jobs, because you may be down to 2 candidates. You're one of 2, and they pick the other person. Now you have to start over. Never stop. Keep going.
I always say that the job search continues until you have accepted an offer. Absolutely. And even then, yes,
that's my opinion.
Even then, I've had a few candidates accept jobs. They're like, well, I just got an interview request. Why not? Go through with it. Why not? You haven't started the job. You know, you can be transparent too and let them know, I have accepted another job. I haven't started. I would love to still connect with you. I would love to still see if potentially I could be a fit for now, whatever. You can be transparent or you cannot. That's up to you. But I would take the interview. Personally, interviews are hard to come by. Why would we turn them down as a job seeker? If there's something, you know, if you're not committed and started. So that's a good point. You should, even then, until you day one and you step foot in the job, right?
And what I would offer there is even then, because companies, when for example, when the recession, you know, you can look at the news, how many people have been laid off in the last few months, you know, and I say, you know, big companies, famous companies, Twitter comes to mind, 20,000 people have disappeared. You know, is they make decisions based on numbers, and you have to constantly, again, operate your career as a business. Think of what's next, and you have constant interviews. Always be available. It'll keep you sharp. It'll keep your skills sharp, because you're always thinking about that next position, that next opportunity. The company may come in one day and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, but you didn't make the cut for whatever reason. Therefore, we got to let you go." And you're like, no problem. And because you're always working it. You're always working it.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to our last questions.
Thank you for watching this part of the interview. In the comments, let us know what other questions you have about the job search in the current market. Down below in the description, you will find 2 free resources: a free video training course from Lorraine, the Career Change Roadmap, where she shares with you practical strategies on what you need to do when you're changing the career. You'll also find a link to get a free resume review from SCM.Jobs. This free resume review is conducted by professional resume writers who can let you know how your resume comes across when you're applying for a job. Both resources are free, so gain better insight to improve your results. And to get more great insight into the job search from Lorraine, click on the link to watch the complete interview. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and ring the bell to help our channel grow and be notified of future videos just like this.